Welcome to real time inking session. Okay, I think I have everything strategically covered, so just a little sneak peek, but not too much. I'm risking my job for you guys. I really am. Okay, so what's going on lately? How's everybody doing? All good? Good. Oh, everybody's awesome? Awesome. Okay. I know, all kinds of stuff is going on, but hey, there it is. What can we do? I am going to just work. Try to keep my hand out of the way so you can still see. There we go. I think that helps. I'm still trying to figure out how to record and get the right angle. I have no fancy equipment. It's just my phone and this phone holder that I got like 5 years ago for like, I don't know, $11 or something. So this is just basic explosion scene. I am working with a brush at the moment, but as I've mentioned before, you can use brush, quill, whatever pen you want. You can maybe play around a little bit with different tools and find, like, you know, what you might prefer. It's always good to be able to use different tools, but sometimes it's nice to go to something that you're like super comfortable with and your, I guess, default tool. And the Raphael happens to be my default tool for a few reasons. It's a good default because I'm able to just kind of work with small details and move if I want to jump around to bigger details. I don't have to switch tools. Like, I can do these little things, whereas like a nib, sometimes you might have to outline or just work in small detailed area, then come back and work on large areas. If I want to jump around with small details, like smaller fine lines, I can do that. I can do side of the brush and do like dry brush. I can do large areas. And sometimes that comes in handy because of momentum. You just kind of want to complete something rather than jump around and just do all the fine details and come back all the big details. It is kind of good to see, like, for scale, if something works. Once you fill in, you know, like large black areas, if all the lines work together. Because scaling is a thing. Ooh, hey, so what else is new? I think I'll talk about a couple different random things today, just because not everything has to be kind of like such an organized topic, right? Sometimes we just kind of chat. And what are some things that are, let's see. What are some things that are interesting or that might be interesting to talk about? Work-wise, so I am not, I still do social media for, silly fun for me. It's more of like a fun thing that I jump on and off, and I'm like everyone else. I don't want to spend too much time on it because right now I'm trying to make sure I get some work done. And no matter what stage you're in, career-wise, I think we're all still learning, so I want to make sure that I save up. I don't waste all my time like scrolling and looking at, although they're super cute, silly cute dogs or animals doing silly things. Sometimes we need that escape, right? But I also don't want to cheat myself on like time that I could be spending learning, and not just learning, but like just tending to real life and talking to people. And you can learn, I think we could all learn to I don't mean to be preachy, but we could all relearn or freshen up our socializing skills and just have normal conversations with people, with your neighbors, with people in real life, like stores or when you go grocery shopping, or people you run into on walks or runs or whatever. But like, I don't know if we know how to socialize anymore. Anyway, so yeah, just getting back to real life, I won't be spending as much time on social media. At least that's the goal. I'll still kind of have a presence just to stay in touch and and still have a little bit of fun with it. But I'm finding that so much of it is just a waste of time scrolling and not even remembering what was it that I was looking for or looking at. And you can just absolutely lose so many hours just sitting there and not learn anything and not really remember anything. And sometimes the worst of it is that you can, like, it just feels like your brain was hijacked for whatever time you were on social media, just scrolling. So for me, that's where I find myself. However, I still would like to keep it. Oops, so sorry. Oops, boy. Just beating up on the phone. I still like to keep it to have, just to kind of stay in touch, because I know everyone who is freelancing, or at least, in comics, most of us are working at home, and we really don't. I don't go to conventions. I might try to go to more, but really just to have a presence, especially if you're still trying to work or stay active in the field or in the industry, and just to let people know that you're still around. So for me, I still think it's, it's kind of important to have a place where people can reach you, for work and stuff. And also update people on what your current work is, whatever you can show. So yeah, that's where I think, as is, social media still has an appeal to me for that reason. And okay, so there's that. What's the other stuff that I've been thinking about? And oh yes, so obviously I'm working traditionally still. I'm I'm learning some things. I did goof around with a little digital inking just because I'm trying to learn Clip Studio, I guess. And I'm also figuring out like maybe how I can scan my pages better. Finding a lot of stuff is kind of muddy, and I just need to really figure out how to have like these traditional pages be scanned and cleaned up, and I'm learning to use Clip Studio for that. And as usual, always like if I can learn how I can add to, I don't know, how I can do my work better, or how I can be more efficient, or how I can just, always good to learn a little something new, not too much. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid I become too tech savvy. But I'm learning just a little bit of the tech stuff, but my choice still is working traditionally. I enjoy it so much more, and I think that there's always like, happy accidents that you can learn from both, like using tech or doing traditional work, but everyone has theirs. Everyone has their preference, and we're all a little different. We work differently, we enjoy different things, so just to have that versatility or that flexibility is always good. Tech is just another tool. It's like a brush or a nib or pen. It's just another tool that you can use, and could come in handy, especially these days where work there's not as much work available, I feel like, other than like everyone can do their own creator own, but in terms of collaborating and working for publishers, things are just a lot more different now. I mean, not for you kids, or I'm gonna call you kids, okay? I don't care. For all you kids who are of this current time, it's what you're used to. But for those of us who have been in the industry or worked in the industry for a long time, huge, lots and lots of changes, and they are happening fast. And I understand that that's, no matter what business you're in, that's gonna happen. That's just life. There's always like, things are always evolving. So do what you gotta do. And this is just an explosion. Seriously, it is really hard for me to like talk and work at the same time, because I'm like a quiet worker. When I'm working, I'm usually very, very quiet. And for those of you who know me, this might be a weird thing to hear, but I'm actually a quiet person. In social situations, I could be a little chatty, but I'm actually a pretty quiet person. Pretty boring. But I'm learning to be perfectly happy with being a boring person, to be honest. I think there's, oh gosh. I think I've had plenty, and maybe I'm all good with all the drama and chaos and all the, I think when you've had enough in your life, you're just ready and just, like very, very, the quiet is I welcome it wholeheartedly. So yes, and I think that for me, working is kind of like a nice little place to go to. It's kind of like running, kind of different. I do enjoy it. I do enjoy the quiet solidarity of it. Solidarity? Solitary. Yeah. The solitary feel of it. So yeah, so this session is going to be, it's not going to be that exciting. So if you guys are looking for something exciting and thrilling, this is not the video for that. This is just you hanging out with me while I'm working on little explosions. Explosions are like little mini speed lines. I'm being maybe a little too clean. That's the other thing I'm trying to work on, is not being too clean. Is good, but I feel like sometimes I look back at some stuff, it's just too lifeless and sterile. So I'm trying to be a little less like kind of hard to say this as I'm being all like OCD right now, but trying to be a little less. I need to skip this ad. Start using YouTube for with ads. So yeah, I'm still learning quite a bit, although I've been working for a long time. Probably longer than some of you have been alive. Oh my God. But I feel like I'm starting to learn, because things are, I think like once you start to understand a couple of things, you realize like how little you know and how so much more you have to learn. And I think that is where like the learning actually starts. I think I've been working for a long time, and it was more of like, okay, hop on the train and just hang on, for dear life, and just go as fast as you can go, just to stay on with, stay up to speed with everything, and everything comes at you fast, especially when you are, for me, my situation was like, okay, I really don't know anything. I don't know much, but I'm gonna hop on and learn as much as I can. And it's not just learning about inking, learning about the industry, learning about the people in the industry, learning about how I work and what I need to do. And everyone's going to have different, stories and, different backgrounds and different approach to, and also different priorities. Like, what are you trying to do? Are you just kind of having fun for a little bit, or are you trying to learn about art? Are you trying to get a career going in comics? So all these little things, I think everyone has to kind of customize their own version based on individual goals and priorities and stuff. Maybe you want to be an artist, but you're not like necessarily too concerned about like pay or making a living, and you can kind of take on whatever, different jobs, or not take on jobs, so you're not, you're not tied down by having to hustle just for the paycheck. Then you can kind of do your own thing. Not everyone is that, in that situation. And it's not just like, I don't know, it's not just about like luck or privilege or anything like that. I think it's just about like you trying to figure out what it is that you need in your life, what you need to do, what your priorities are. Maybe you just need to learn, and you're younger, so you have a little more flexibility compared to someone who has like a family to support. Then that's an entirely different situation. For those who are trying to pay bills or support family, you take on as many jobs as you can, or you need to, because the pay is not huge. So if you have to support a family, you're making different sacrifices, longer hours maybe. But if you're just young and you can take the time to like learn, maybe you can be more selective for what projects you want to take and how long you can spend on like a book or even a page or a project. And is learning more important than being like productive? By productive, I mean like we're usually under different schedules or deadlines, and at times you will be asked to hack, and I have been asked to hack, and in those situations you're basically learning to like just produce, and it might eliminate like the learning aspect. So you're just being productive, and you're not really getting a chance to like play around with, like, if you have time you can play around with, try to do this, do that, what if I do this, what if I go with this texture instead, or maybe this shape instead. So you have time to kind of goof off, and take all my terms with a grain of salt, guys. Or even play around with your style. Does it fit? Does it fit you? Does it feel right? Does it feel natural, or like feel interesting to you? So all those things, and you get to sit around and think more of like, okay, even something like this, like, is this a piece of debris or is this a piece of cloud? Whatever. If you're working fast, you don't have time to think about that. You just you have to make your decisions much faster. So I'm going to make that little piece of debris. But with experience, you learn to think a little bit faster. So that's where experience comes in handy. And you don't always need, professional experience either, because I know people are, you'll hear comments like, well, I can't get experience because I can't get hired. No, you can get experience on not hired work. Not unpaid work. Most of us, the truth is, most of us will do a lot of unpaid work. But I think that as long as you're learning or making a connection, you have to see it in a different light. I think the pay can come in many forms. Sometimes you get paid with exposure. Sometimes you get paid with it's like a free class you're learning. So sometimes you get paid with like, making connections or networking. With all that said, I know that the other issue is having to provide like free labor. This is where you have to decide for yourself and really take each situation individually. Like no one rule is going to apply for everyone in every situation. So you have to think for yourself, is this going to fit what I need for right now? If you're not getting paid and you're not doing any work, maybe what you do need is to make connections or to give people a sample of what it is that you do, especially if you're new. However, people do take advantage. So if you're just giving away free stuff and have no boundaries or no guidelines in terms of like how much free stuff do I do? Do I work on a whole book for free? If you're not doing anything and you feel like that would be a good experience for you, yeah, why not? But if you feel like you need to go and explore other opportunities and someone is just trying to take advantage of your desperation, then maybe you need to just walk away from that situation. So as always, you have to figure out that situation for yourself, your situation or your particulars have to be customized by you, for you, and don't expect anyone to give you the answers. You can get some advice or guidelines, but just sit down or walk or whatever and figure out for yourself what you need to do, because people will always have advice, but it may be good advice, but it may not fit your particular case. So silly feathering here. Sometimes I extend a little bit just to kind of enhance the effect. And work, I'm not talking about work. Sometimes I add little multiple lines, just again enhance the effect, or to soften, or to give it a little bit of flow. Gray tone, fade. Again, this is the benefit of using a brush, because I can do large chunky areas like that and do the feathering, see if it works out right, see if it closes up well, and sometimes I just kind of, oh gosh, here's the other thing. So there's the benefit of having a brush. There's also safety in, if you are a professional inker and you're just inking other artists or pencilers, you're not choosing the paper or what happens, to the paper before it arrives to your desk. I think the brush is nice and gentle because you can still use it to work on areas that where I can tell this area has been erased plenty. So in the drawing process and the penciling process, there may be a lot of erasing going on, and that does affect the surface of the paper. So you will have very loose, soft, or surface where a nib or pen tip might be too rough, or it might bleed, or it might shred. So brush is nice and gentle because it glides right over whatever rough surface or whatever overwork surface you have, and you're not going to you can still keep it, clean and sharp, and especially on smaller details. This is like just background, so it's a little more forgiving. But if you have like a face or like small figure work or details where each little bit of detail is important, it gets muddy real fast. So a brush is nice because that's not going to like continue to make it into like a mess. It stays nice and clean for you. Explosions are great and forgiving, and sometimes I take a little liberty, but as long as everything kind of flows together and keep in mind like the big picture. You don't want anything you're doing to be fighting each other. So even if you're like zooming in as you work, you have to keep in mind the big picture, if everything's going to work well together. Guide the eyes to the same place. Alrighty. So we just did the explosion, and I do like continue with using the brush even though now we're moving into smaller areas or smaller details. And even if it's tech, you can still use your brush. Get a little creative. See, it allows you to work on like really fine details or small scale, and you can jump right into something like bigger, larger scale, so you can, even without having to dip your pen. So it does allow you to flow in that sense faster and kind of complete the image, although I don't think I'm really completing anything right now. But so visually you can see if everything's kind of working together without having to kind of come back like, oh man, this piece is way too small and it needs to be like much more bold, or needs to really pop out more, and you use line weight or like accentuate different parts for that. So in using brush, you can just kind of jump around. Okay. I don't know, should I finish this piece? All right, so it's a little bit of a description on what I'm working on. And what else? So, so I was saying I do plan on working traditionally, and although like that does limit me on projects that I can take, because I believe most work now being done is, or a lot, for practical reasons, I think, for production, for speed, for many reasons. A lot of work is done digitally. I hope I can continue to. I will try, and it is my wish to continue to work traditionally. I don't know who will still call on me to help out, but I hope there are still enough pencilers out there who might decide they want to still work with traditional inkers. We'll work with that for now. Hopefully there will still be plenty, and I also enjoy, I do like original art. I think it's great that you can get a book out fast using digital methods, but I like to feel that readers who buy original art that's been published, I feel like it's a way for people to, or readers or comic fans, to participate, to be a part of the whole process. Because once the book's published, they buy the book, and when the original art is available for sale, you can own a piece of that book. Literally, you are owning a piece of what went down. I think that that is a very cool thing. I don't know how many other hobbies or industries that you can do that with. And still kind of be somewhat reasonable. It's not, some pieces are super expensive, but there are still so many that are affordable. So I feel like it does still allow for collecting on different budgets. You don't have to be wealthy to save up for a little piece that could be just a couple $100, or even, it depends on the project, obviously, and the artist. But I feel like you can save up for a piece or a page that's within the hundreds, and you might even be able to find pages that are in 40, 50 maybe. I have some that are 40, 50. So anywho, I think it's that's kind of my new thing, is that to work traditionally. I am probably more thoughtful of the people who collect the art than, not more than publishing the story, but I am more thoughtful of it because I want it to be nice for the person who's actually going to own this original. So I approach it slightly differently now. And, given the opportunity, I would like to not hack. I would like to still kind of play around and see what I can do on the page, on the original. That will be kind of like a little, I guess a nice little gift or a little surprise or something unique just for the person who's going to own it, collect it. So that's kind of where I am in terms of working traditionally. Just to have that little bit of a thank you for the support, for the the collector who might want to buy. It doesn't have to be, like I said, it doesn't have to be someone who, it's kind of nice to have it go to someone who isn't collecting as an investment or a hobby, but just your average collector who just wants one or two pieces for themselves to enjoy. So it doesn't have to be a big ticket item, but it could just be something that they something that is personal. Maybe you were going through something at the time, and this book was actually kind of fun and took you on a little escape, whatever. Or it's something that relates to your work or whatever personal stories you have with it. So I think that's another fun thing about collecting art. And even like reading comics, just entertainment that kind of helps you through or helps to give you like an escape. It's what entertainment or art should be. Gives you a little breath of fresh air so you can go back and deal with the crazy world. A little bit of an escape, I guess. So if you can have like a piece of art that kind of brings you back to maybe a time that was difficult, or it helped get you through, or something that can have like a personal meaning to you. So for that reason, I know I'm so sentimental and weird, but that's me. So I do like to give it a little more attention, a little more love, a little more consideration, I guess. Yeah. So I like to take my time, and because just like anything else, like they say in cooking, like the secret ingredient is love. I like to think art is that same way, which also kind of brings us to just a quick like breeze over the subject of AI. Maybe it has its place, just like everything else. The thing itself isn't bad, it's how it's used. And it's the people who abuse it or use it improperly. So I'm sure AI has its place in different things, but my rule is like work with the artist, compensate the artist, or don't steal, or the usual stuff, the usual lame stuff. But so that's to me like the difference between like AI and traditional art. And don't come at me, you guys, it's just my opinion, okay? So you can come at me if you want, I really don't care. I'm still what I think is what I think. So anywho, yes, so I feel like that's the difference between like AI and traditional art. You're gonna get like imperfect stuff, but I'm doing it with love, and there's a story to it, and there's like like a human experience to it. What I may be going through as I'm working on this, different from what you may be going through when you read the book, or what the penciler is going through. We all have our individual experience that is personal to us, but we're sharing it on like the same platform. Like you're reading it in a different place as where I'm creating it, and the person who wrote it, all that stuff. But we all have our own personal stories. I think it's kind of nice to be able to have something like that to and that's kind of like where art and the human aspect of art and the personal stories that comes with it. And it's not just the art itself, but it's all the human experiences and the personal stuff. And before I worked on this page, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I worked on. There's like, it's not just this one page, to me, and it's not just this one book or this, person I'm working with. There's a whole bunch of other things that happen or that had to happen to bring me here, to bring them here, to bring this story here. So I feel like that's the bonus you get with like the human stuff. It's not just that one piece of art. And I'm sure you can make the same argument with AI. There's like the tech people and all that. But for me, this is how I approach it. This is why I work traditionally, I feel like I have my own reasons for it, and whether you collect or read AI or a traditional, you have your own reasons. So I think as long as I don't know, as long as I get to work in this industry, contribute in this way, I'm always going to give you my best that I can for the time, unless I'm being severely pressured into hacking, and then I will hack the best that I can. I will always give the best that I can with the situation that I am given. So it's not always going to be the best, but it's going to be the best that I can do for the situation that I'm in. But it's always with that extra little special ingredient of love and care. So I hope you receive it the same way. Okay, so I hope I stayed on. We're doing tech and textures. I'm not talking about little. So if you enjoy the talking, I'm grateful for you to let me babble on. If you don't enjoy it, you can mute this thing and just watch the work. If you really, really enjoy it, watch it multiple times. Okay, so let me know what you think about these little work in progress recording sessions. It's just me babbling as I work. And it is a struggle, like I said, because I'm not natural at this whole talking and working thing. Other artists can do it, but oof, it's a challenge for this person. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Should we do more of these sessions? And it is also a way for me to give you a little sneak peek. Don't tell. All right. So I'll pause there because I kind of think I got the explosion. We've got a little bit of tech in. You kind of see how it works. The whole time just using the Raphael. So you can do tech with the Raphael. You can do, straight hard lines. You can do, I think I did all this offline. Like more wispy, feathery, soft lines. And the whole time, not at all concerned about what paper I have, because I don't have to worry about shredding it. I don't have to worry about it bleeding. I don't have to worry about, constantly tearing up, like lifting fibers of loose surface where I'm constantly cleaning my tool with a nib. You kind of have to do that quite often. Otherwise, you just get your inking with a fuzz ball constantly, and you're not going to get the line that you want. So yeah, so hopefully this little recording setup is okay and you're not just getting like a visual of my thumb the whole time. All right, so yeah, back to, let me know what you think. Should we do more of these little live recording? It's not live, but you know what I'm saying. There I go, adding a little extra. It's an explosion. There's going to be stuff flying everywhere. Might flick a little stuff to make it messier. But yeah. Okay, thanks for joining me, guys. Peace out. Till next time, let me know. Or not. Okay, bye. Thanks. Bye.